Hello, everyone. This is Simone Simmons from CPS Speak Up and Speak Out, and I would like to welcome you to our 8th stream session. Lately, our program has been presented with great opportunities. On Thursday, February 25th, we streamed our first ever virtual rally with the Q&A, which was a success. Monday, March 1st, we had a presentation to the Board of Education where we presented our infamous list of demands and explained what we wanted to our educators. Later on that week, one of our very own was featured on WLWT News 5 for a segment on CPS Speak Up and Speak Out. Today's conversation is about careers, and we have some great guest speakers with us here today. I would now like to invite Ms. Nia Bauke to unmute her mic. Thank you.
Thanks, Simone. Thank you for being here. I'll invite the students who we have today to go ahead and share their video and join us. I'm so excited to facilitate today's conversation. As Simone said, this is our 8th time getting together in a live capacity, but this group has been doing so much more behind the scenes as well. So hi, Simone. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Rachel. Before we jump in, I definitely want to hear about what you all have been up to, especially as it comes to presenting to the board, and then we'll move into our conversation around careers. But before we jump in, I just want to check in with you guys. It's a Monday, start of the week, so just remind everyone who's watching your name, your grade, where you attend school, and then just tell me if you did anything fun this weekend, one fun thing you did this weekend. Simone, why don't we start with you?
My name is Simone Simmons. I'm a junior at Walnut Hills High School, and this weekend I hung out with my dad and sister.
Nice. Rachel?
My name is Rachel Scales. I'm a senior at Riverview East Academy. And this weekend, I've been like hot topic because I am the very own that was on WLWT. So my phone has been blowing up since that news aired. So that's what I've been doing all weekend.
Just responding to text messages.
I'm trying, but it's a lot of them.
You had a great interview. You did a great job. All of you guys did. Carolyn?
Hi everyone, I'm Orlin Harrison. I attend Western Hills High School. I'm a sophomore, and one fun thing I did this weekend is I guess I got my hair braided. I guess that was fun.
Yeah, Carolyn with the fresh hair. Thanks, Carolyn. Well, thank you three for being here. For those of you who are watching, there have been many other students who are involved. These three are just who are joining today, but there have been a lot of students who are involved, especially in the list of demands. If you have been following the news, this group recently presented to the board their list of demands, and that wasn't just coming from the three, it was coming from a larger group of young students who were really invested in working on helping CPS identify ways to better serve their students, especially their students of color. So excited to hear from you all how the conversation with the board went. Tell me a little bit about it and how you guys feel like your presentation was received.
I feel like the presentation was received really well. They all liked what we had to say. They all were really like encouraging to make sure that we stayed on them, to make sure that our demands were met, and how we wanted to make them, and how we wanted to see them be met.
Rachel, Carolyn, how do you think the presentation went? I meant Simone or Carolyn.
I think it went pretty well. Like, I was kind of surprised by like the responses. Like, a lot of people on the board were like challenging our superintendent right then and there on specific things they liked from our list. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I was really happy with the response we got.
How about you, Carolyn?
We did a really good job. Like the board members, they said that we came up with ideas that they never thought about. So it was just really fun to like see their reaction to our list of demands and to see how they would implement them into the schools.
Was there any particular of the list that you all presented to the board, were there any particular ones that they were interested in more than others or were really excited about or expressed interest in?
There were a few, but like I kind of forgot because like it's like each board member had like their favorite one, so to
Mhm.
speak. Like each board member had one that they really liked from the list and wanted to expand upon.
So it kind of depended on the person a little bit or the board member a little bit because they all had different interests. From your perspective, as you all were talking in the presentation, were there some that you focused on more than others in terms of, hey, we really want to see this one get implemented, by the end of the school year or by the end of next year? Which ones were you pushing for the most when you talked to the board?
Honestly, I don't think we pushed for any because they were just so open-minded about all of them. Like Simone said, each board member liked at least one of them individually, so they talked to the superintendent about that one. Um, but the superintendent was like answering all their questions like rapid fire, so they it wasn't one that we had to be like, well, we want this one done now. They were all answered individually and with good answers, I think.
Gotcha. Kiorlin, what about you? Was there one that you noticed stood out to the board members, or one that you wanted to see them consider over others?
Um, this is really along the same lines as Rachel. They really just talked about each one and they really just discussed all of our list of demands and how they would try their best to make sure they were in our schools.
That's awesome. And I know you guys, as you were talking the last time we spoke, also hosted a virtual rally. So could you tell folks a little bit about that and how you think the rally went?
I think it went pretty well. Um, I thought it was kind of fun. Like the question and answer thing was fun, and then like the process and just like going through all of that for all those months to like see the finishing product was really interesting. My favorite part was the video because it was just really cool to see like how far we've come. But I think it was pretty successful and it's getting a lot of views and a lot of positive feedback. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were there students who within your school talked to you about it or were engaged in it after it happened?
I'm pretty
Yorlin or Rachel? Oh, go ahead, Simone.
My bad, but I'm pretty active on like my social media, so stuff about like speak up and speak out, I post about it on my story and stuff. So I have a few supportive friends who go to my school who watch my stuff and they expressed that it was really inspiring and interesting, and I was just glad I could inspire. So I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from it.
That's awesome. What about you, Rachel? Carolyn, did you hear from your peers or classmates?
I did. They were all pretty excited that they knew somebody that was trending. Um, they wanted to be a part of something next. Like, could they be a part of this one? I was like, yeah, sure. But they want to start their own little something at Riverview to hopefully get trending.
They want to be a part of the action. What about you, Kiorlin? Did any of your classmates mention the rally to you or wanting to get more involved or hear more after hearing about it?
A couple of them did, but for me, it was more so of family. The day that the virtual rally was, well, actually, when Rachel did her interview, my grandma called me. She was like, "I seen you on the news." She was like, "I seen your little your broadcast on the news. She was so proud of me. It was my grandma. I love her to death. But she's really supportive, and it was just exciting for her to see like how I've improved over the years, and because I can be kind of goofy according to my family, but it's just exciting to see for them to see how much I've grown up and to see how much I am involved with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's fun too because, as I've mentioned, you all have been doing this work for so long. And so, with both the rally and with some of the interview opportunities that you had, it was a way to share with everyone in the community what's been going on for the past several months. So that's really awesome to see. Before we transition to talking about careers and diversity in the workplace, my question for you guys is, with all of this momentum, with the rally that just happened, and then with these interviews, Rachel, you've got people blowing up your phone. What are you hoping is the next step? What would you like to see in terms of support from the community now that they've read your list of demands and now that they know what you all have been working on? What do you want to see from your classmates, and what do you want to see from the larger community?
I'll go first. I hope people don't let this become just a trending topic. Like, I hope it doesn't just become like a one-hit wonder. I hope people like make us stick to what we're trying to get done. I hope they like make the superintendent give them answers, or like make us stick to our word. We say we want these things fixed, and I hope they make us stick to that.
Kind of going off what Rachel said, I don't want this to be just like a hot topic kind of thing, just because we getting some clout now and we're on the news and stuff like that. I want it to be like people start taking it serious now. Like now that people are aware, like personally, from people who go to my school, I would like to see them tune into one of our sessions or even become a part of it. Like that would be pretty cool to me, just have people seeing it more seriously and just helping out any way they can, like just watching these, just helping support us. I don't want it to be like something that's just like forgot about.
Yeah, so seeing more students maybe get engaged with these sessions, um, and kind of giving their feedback as well, not just watching, but getting involved. Kierlin, what about for you, from your peers, your classmates, as well as from the larger community? Now that you all have some momentum, what would you like to see in terms of support?
The same thing as Rachel and Simone. Just so we all should just focus on the list of demands so we can all better ourselves and the community.
Yeah, so getting to work a little bit. Again, not just saying great job, but actually joining you all in the process. Yeah, well, I've already said this a million times, but I'm super proud of you guys just knowing where we started when these conversations first started to where we're at right now. It's amazing to see all the momentum that you have and all the work that you're doing and the conversations that you've started. And so much of this is just the beginning. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about what the superintendent and the Board of Education does with your presentation from last week. So congratulations on all of your hard work. And I know that there's more to come. So hooray. But I want to transition. I know we have some city leaders on today to talk a little bit about careers and diversity and inclusion in the workplace, but I want to have a conversation with you all a little bit about that first. So, being prepared for career or college was something that was really brought up at the beginning when we first started having these sessions around things that you really wanted to make sure that CPS was doing more of. So it's been a part of, has been listed as one of your list of demands in terms of helping you all when it comes to learning how to be more civically engaged, as well as getting more involved in the community and just understanding how you are going to transition and build life skills that help you in your career. So I'm curious from your perspective, what would you like to see CPS do more of when it comes to making sure that you feel prepared for life and career after high school?
Like as far as classes and stuff.
It could be classes, it could be things that are offered outside of the classroom as well.
I do. Um, Maybe critical thinking would be one, and I don't know if a lot of students know, but I don't know if it's offered at the other schools, but I'm pretty sure it's like district wide. But it's a finance class, and it's normally every Monday, but just I guess more of that.
What about the finance class do you think is important, Kierlin?
Um, well, now that since as the world as time goes on, the world is moving more so toward technology. So like stocks and stuff like that, and investing and budgeting.
So making sure that once people get a career, they know how to manage their money is something that you feel like is important. Simone, what about for you at Walnut? In addition to the courses that you're taking, do you feel like they're preparing you for the career that you want to go into, or are there other kind of life skills and career preparedness type of activities that you'd like to see offered?
As far as the classes I'm taking, they're more so just like they're more to make sure that I get into college. And some of the classes like I'm taking like college anatomy and physiology, that's for my career. But I think I would like to see more life skill classes. Like finance is definitely something that needs to be talked about, especially like avoiding college debt, because I know I want to go into pre-med and having to get into medical school will like do a real big dent in my ability and stuff like that. But that's not really discussed a lot in school. Like the the severity of student debt is not really discussed a lot, and I would like to see that discussed some more because a lot of us students don't know what we're getting ourselves into when we take out a loan and things like that. We don't know what's to come from that, so I just think that those type of classes should be offered, or that topic should be talked about a little bit more, especially towards like its junior and senior years.
Mm-hmm. Rachel, what about for you?
I would want to see just more life skills, like not necessarily the basics, but um, like Simone said, nobody really talks about going into debt, going into college. Like everybody just talks the joy of college, like oh, you get a new lifestyle, yada yada yada. But nobody talks about if you take out a loan, you have to pay that loan back within amount of time, or like how to go about doing a loan, if that makes sense. So just more of stuff like that, like how to write a check, how to go vote, how to balance my checkbook, how to do those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Since it's just the three of you, I feel like we can get more specific. Can you tell me have you identified, Simone, you kind of clearly stated that you have in some ways in medical school, but have you identified what careers you want to explore, and what you're interested in? So Simone, I know you mentioned med school, so if you want to start and talk about like how you feel like how you'd like your career trajectory to go.
So I want to be a pediatrician. So I've wanted to be a pediatrician since I was 7. I set on med school since I was 7 years old. So that's what I want to do. I like want to go to an HBCU for undergrad and then go to like a really good medical school and medical program. Um, that's really how I want my life to go. But I've been like discussing with my dad because he's like big on finance now, and he has me like listening to radio shows on how to like save my money so I won't be in big amounts of debt because of med school. And I have like a few family members who are in the medical field who are able to help me with that. So that's just where I want my career to go after high school.
Yeah, that's helpful, Simone. So I'll circle back once I hear kind of everyone. So Rachel, what about you? What are the career fields that you are interested in exploring? And I'm going to cut my camera off for just a second, but I'm listening.
I want to will be a nurse, so like someone I would have to go to like medical school and stuff. After high school, I'll graduate with my STNA license because that's what Riverview offers. Um, so I'll have my STNA and then I can go to college for my nursing degree. And then if I want to do more than nursing, I would have to go to medical school afterwards. So that's where I'm at right now with after high school.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Rachel. What about you, Kierlyn? Do you have it narrowed down, or are you thinking about a couple different options?
Yes, I have mine narrowed down. I want to go into pre-law. I actually just, my dad, he told me a couple days ago that they're actually going to have a summer program at UC for law. So that's good.
That's great. So I'm curious, now knowing, from nursing to med school to, eventually law school for you, Kierlyn, how did you, or how have you learned? You guys all kind of talked about, oh, well, I want to go to this type of school first, or I need to get this credential. Did you learn that information from your family members, or did you learn that information at school in terms of figuring out the steps that you need to take to get to the careers that you're talking about?
For me, it's kind of a mixture of both. I sometimes I watch a lot of law shows like Judge Judy and like How to Get Away with Murder and stuff like that. So like how how they like adapt themselves. And this group has actually helped as well because like we have to know our background information, and that's what you have to do as a lawyer or attorney or in pre-law. You have to know everything about your case, whoever you're defending. So it's just helped a lot.
What about for you, Simone? I know you mentioned you had family in the medical arena, so are they the ones giving you information, or do you feel like you learned some things at school too in terms of how to navigate getting to the career that you're talking about?
Well, like I was at this HBCU homecoming like 2 months ago, no, 2 years ago, and I saw like my uncle who's like my dad's frat brother, and he's a surgeon. So he told me about a program at my parents' school. So ever since then, I've been like researching good HBCUs for medical programs. But most of the stuff I've learned was either from my own research or from talking to like different people who would just ask what I wanted to be when I left high school and would just give me the information I needed on like colleges that are good, especially because I've narrowed it down to the fact that I definitely want to go to an HBCU for undergrad. So they've like helped me pick good programs.
I learned most of it, like some of it at school because Riverview is a medical based school, I guess. So that's where I figured out that I'll come out with my CNA license, and then I would only have to go to school for my nursing, like whatever nursing path I want to go on. But then I've also wanted to be a nurse since I was like 10. So I also have just been doing research, like what schools has the best nursing program, um, like what would I have to go through to get into the nursing program and stuff like that. So I've also done my own research. You're muted.
Thanks, Rachel. It's helpful to know too, Rachel, in your case, that your school, because of their track, was able to kind of connect you or at least expose you to some of the certifications and information that you need in order to think about a career in nursing. So that's awesome. And I know that's a goal that they have for all students. I'm curious, are there at your high schools, do they have life skills courses or courses mini courses or just like within a class where you get to explore like what you would be good at or talk a little bit about, what colleges or careers you would be interested in? Is that something that happens in a classroom, or is it something just more so that happens just by talking to a teacher one-on-one?
At Riverview, we do have something called college seminar, to where, but not everyone gets it. Like, I'm not in college seminar anymore. Where they help you like pick out your college or colleges, they help you write, they help you do scholarships, help you write your scholarship essays. If you haven't done your FAFSA, they help you with that. Um, but like I said, a lot of seniors aren't able to take the class because we're in other groups or other clubs, so we aren't able to get in college seminar.
Hmm. So is it an elective course then, or how do you get access to
It's
that?
it's a main course. Like you get a grade for college seminar, like it's a class. But
Okay.
see, I'm in multiple groups at Riverview, so I'm in like it's called Better View, it's called Peer Leaders. So since I'm in Better View and Peer Leaders, I wasn't able to take college seminar because I've already committed to other things.
Okay. Got it. Simone and Carolyn, what about for you? Are there classes or programs that are offered at your school where you can explore the types of things that you're talking about?
At my school, they don't like offer law, but there are like opportunities for scholarships and different programs that are coming to a city like that. But at my school, they just offer like EMT stuff that Simone and Rachel would be interested in.
Hmm.
I don't know of any like specific classes or courses to prepare us for the career we want to go in. But like that's kind of at my school, it's a very independent school. So like you kind of have to determine that kind of stuff on your own.
Hmm.
And it's been kind of like harder for me like when I was first starting high school to decide what kind of classes I wanted to take once they stopped picking them for you. But I'd say most of that stuff is just dependent on you. But we do have a college information center, and if you're like I'd say I'd like to talk to my counselor. I like to talk to my counselor about what career I'm going to pursue, and she kind of helps me with which courses I should take and kind of like leads me in the right direction. And we just like have a college information center, like help send our ACT scores and transcripts out to colleges and stuff. But as for specific courses, that's kind of an up to you kind of thing. So I'm
Hmm.
not really sure.
Yeah, that's helpful to know. Well, as you all are talking, I was just making the connection that it sounds like if you're a really proactive student, you can probably find the information that you need at school. But if you don't know where to start, or maybe you don't have that relationship with your guidance counselor, you might feel a little bit lost, at least when you're first in high school, trying to figure out where to go or finding the information that you need. So maybe that's something that you all, as you get further into conversations with the superintendent. I know how passionate you all are about career preparedness, so maybe that's something that you can advocate for, whether it's a mini course within an existing course or just like a week seminar where you can talk about, your likes and dislikes and how to navigate, college and career. That could potentially be something that's interesting and helpful for all students. And the other thing too that you all mentioned was programs that you've heard about, but that sounded like it was more word of mouth, not necessarily from the school itself. Like, oh, my cousin told me about a program, that I want to go into. But, how do you make that information accessible for all kids, right? It's something that's on our mind. Any thoughts with that? Do you think something like a mini course or a program for all students would be helpful to your classmates when it comes to thinking about career preparedness or going to college?
Yeah, I feel like there should always be like some type of an electives that people are able to choose. Maybe not mandatory, but like if you have questions, you can go to the specific teacher and they like can answer hopefully any question you have. I feel like that should be a thing.
Is there anything else that you would want to see your school implement in terms of supporting students when it comes to pursuing the career fields that they're interested in? Fiorlin or Simone?
I'd say at my school, just making like the counselors more approachable. Because like from my friends in like the next graduating class, 2021, like especially with us being in at home learning, the counselors haven't been very like approachable or reachable because they take like forever to respond to emails and stuff. And even when we like do go back, I just feel like it's important for counselors to make themselves more approachable and just present themselves to students because we don't always know where to find you guys, and we need your all's help to like guide us, to help us find you guys. So I feel like that's just really at my school from what I've experienced, counselors just making themselves more. I remember one year I didn't know who my counselor was till the second half of the year. I just think that counselors have to make themselves more available to students' needs.
Yeah, so making sure that counselors are building those connections with their students on a regular basis, and you use the word approachable too. So it's not just that students know they're there, but that they know they're welcome to talk to a counselor and ask questions. Kiorlin, what about for you? What are some things that you would like to see your school offer to help students as they're thinking about their future and their career?
Um, I guess like business classes. My school is really supportive, like the counselors and stuff. They are interactive with the students. Like they'll see you in the halls. They'll be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" My counselors last year, they were supportive. They actually came into our classroom like maybe like once a month to talk to us about different career paths and how we can pick our classes. My counselor this year, he does the thing. He holds Google Meets and stuff, and we just discuss how how the difference between AP classes and CCP classes, the different classes you could take within college or now.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. So for you, your counselors have, you feel like have been really proactive and outreaching, but maybe seeing some opportunities for more business courses and like you talked about earlier, finance classes or some of those preparedness classes would be beneficial to you. So final question before we invite our city leaders to join us and introduce themselves. And of course, you can ask them questions as well, but as you think about, getting ready for college and career, of course, a component is academic, but there's also a part that's social, knowing people, having a network of individuals who can support you and who you can reach out to. So, how are you all building that network of people that you can know and trust and rely on in terms of either helping you get an internship in the future or helping, expose you to things that are within your interested career field. Does your school help you with that? Is that your family members? How are you building your personal network?
For me, I'm just like I don't want to say outgoing, but I'm more of like I'm a people person. Like I like people. I like talking to people. So I'll just walk up to a person and be like, "Hey, how you doing? What you doing today? What's the plan for today?" And just like talk to them. And a lot of people like that. Like they might not be able to approach you, but they're willing for other people to approach them. So I am most definitely the approaching person. So I'll just talk to somebody, and usually that I'll end up having their phone number by 5 minutes of the conversation. So that's usually what I do.
Does Riverview, Rachel, I know you talked about the fact that they've helped you with thinking about, your career field in nursing. Do they connect you with a mentor or someone who you can talk to that's not necessarily associated with the school that can help you think about your career in the future?
So a part of getting my STNA license, we had to do 72 hours like in a facility.
Hmm.
So if I take the test and I pass my test, I already have a job at a nursing home because I did so well when we went the last time. Like like, I don't know if it's the boss or like the head lady or whatever. She came to me personally and was like, I really like you. Like, you have a job when you're done. And I was like, thanks, super dope. So when I take my tests and stuff, I'll have a job when I leave. So that is a connection that the school gave me with the facility.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, you got to make sure you stay in touch with those people. Simone, Kierlin, what about for you? How are you building your network outside of school when it comes to the careers that you're interested in?
For me, I've just been blessed with very social parents. Like everybody knows my mother and my father. So, and with that comes having a lot of friends and family in different fields of education and different fields of work. So, I've just been blessed in that way. And then for my specific field, I've reached out to Children's Hospital on programs I can enter during my senior year to like help me get into school and stuff like that and just get my name out there for what I want to do in my career. But it's mostly due to my family and just having family and friends who are in the field that I'm interested in working in.
Yeah, so leaning into your parents' network and connecting with people in that way has been helpful for you. Kierlin, what about for you?
Um, it's just basically my counselors. They keep me informed of. I actually go to my counselors for my career, like Simone said. They keep me informed with different programs and scholarships. That's actually how I found out about the UC program that's coming.
Awesome. So using kind of developing those positive relationships with your counselors have been helpful because they kind of let you know what's going on in terms of the programs and careers that you're interested in. So that's great. I mean, I'm hearing counselors being one area where you're building your network, your friends and family network, and then also just with actually getting internships or kind of what Rachel was talking about, developing relationships with people that are already in your career field as well. So I think being able to make those connections moving forward could be something that CPS could also continue to help with. But I want to stop there because I want to give us time to introduce our city leaders for today. So I will have the students just quickly stop sharing their screens for a moment so we can introduce our leaders. We'll have them come on and share their screens and unmute. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. As you all know, every time we have one of these sessions, the students talk for a little bit about the topic, and then we invite who we call our city leaders on to discuss what they've heard from the students, as well as to provide any insight and advice and answer any questions. In addition to the conversation that the students were having around, being ready and prepared for college and career, our hope too is that you could give them some insight into, how to navigate being a person of color in the workplace as well, and thinking about that, because that will certainly be a part of their future once they've graduated from whatever program that they're interested in. So with that being said, I'd love to just start by you just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your career path and college path. And also, if you have, some initial insights based off of what the students have shared and responses, feel free to share those at this time as well. Anyone want to start?
Okay, so I'll start first. My name is Kelly Scott. I am the Director of Diversity and Engagement with AtriCure in Mason. It is a medical device company, and I will allow LaTora and Rashawn to go into a little bit more detail about them. But I'm originally from Canton, Ohio, so it's about an hour south of Cleveland. And I always have to share, it's a football city, so we are home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And so it's a really fun city. About 1 week 1 week out of the year. We also, though, I do want to share. I heard information about the HBCUs. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame has also. This actually would have been the third year, but because of the pandemic, they have included a Hall of Fame for HBCUs. So it is, they had actually a 3-year contract for Labor Day weekend, where we have HBCUs come and compete in football, and they have all kind of activities, etc. So if you all want more information about that, let me know. So I originally started at Ohio State. My father, and when I'm hearing you all talk about preparing financially, and it is extremely important. And whenever you can have the opportunity to keep your grades at the highest level possible, because scholarships are the way to go. And it takes research and study and talking to folks to find out where they are, but it's something that you just need to make part of your life in high school, and that's looking for scholarships. So after, when my father got sick, I ended up having to come home, and I needed a job, right? So I got a job with a finance company, eventually going into retail banking and business banking. And I was never happy because I made really good money, and it was secure, but it was a lot of work, and it was stressful. And I ended up getting my degree, my bachelor's degree, and then decided that actually was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when I survived that cancer, it really changed me, because I said, wow, I've got to change my lifestyle. And I'm going to change things so that I'm happy. So when I get up in the morning, I want to go to work. So my mother was a late bloomer as well, as far as her career. And she went to school to be a nurse at the age of 44. So my father was 43 when he died of colon cancer. My mom went to college that next month. She became a nurse, and then she ended up getting her PhD in, it's actually in mental health, and her master's was in public health. So she ended up opening up an agency to help African Americans, basically, minorities, with the health disparities. So as you know, we suffer from diseases and so forth at a much higher rate. I started working with her, and because of the relationship I had with her and the community and her board members, I had the opportunity to work and become a director of diversity for the high school in my town. So once I started, that's how my career started in diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's how I actually became, my expertise being in healthcare. So it's a wonderful way of making sure that barriers are removed and opportunities are open for students like you and candidates to come and work for healthcare systems, as well as with AtriCure. And so I think what I want to share with you is, first of all, you are here to impress us, but I am truly, truly impressed of the knowledge that you all are obtaining before you enter this work world, because that's when you need it. And I'm going to share that from two perspectives. I used to be an adjunct instructor in public speaking for a community college. And I used to teach at the downtown campus, which usually had our people, folks that look like us. And what was unfortunate is they were unprepared. So speech class, really, it wasn't, I used to think, wow, you're not going to, this isn't a chemistry class. But what was unfortunate is you have to, when you give a speech, you need to write an outline, right? Real quick. Well, outline needed to be typed, and you needed your reference page, etc. And when I started getting papers turned in handwritten, I was completely shocked. And that was because, unfortunately, the students were unable to use computers, or they didn't have computers. So, and then they didn't have transportation to get to the other campus that did have computers. So the information that you're getting before you come to school, or to work, is extremely important. When you talk about, and lastly, what I want to share is, when you were talking about presenting to the board, do you know how deep that experience is? There are people now in the workforce who are scared to death to speak to a board and board members, and they've been in the workforce for years. So you having that opportunity has exposed you to the process that happens in the workforce. And you've got it. So when you talk about building your communication skills and your presenting skills, awesome. The way you spent with your weekends, your family. Simone, you spend it with your family. You need to put your family first. No matter what you do when you build your career, put your family first. That gives you that work-life balance. Talk about Rachel, when you talked about you all are now superstars. That's important because you are going to have to share what you do, because that's how you meet people, and then you end up sharing best practices because you're involved in the community. So that's a good thing. That also gives you get the phone call, right? Corlin was saying this grandma called and was proud of him, right? You need a tribe. You need folks around you. When they say if you're the smartest one in the group, you're in the wrong group. So you need a support team and a tribe that supports you in your progress. And you got your braids, you need that self-care. That means our appearance and taking care of ourselves is important now. It's important in the future. And it's important for us, especially in the workforce. So I'm thank you so much for allowing me to participate today, and I'll turn it over to the next speaker.
I'll hop on. Let me see how I can follow up from Miss Kelly. Goodness.
Victoria, before you start, I'm actually just going to go ahead and invite the students to share their screens again.
Okay.
So you all can see their face. You all can see their faces as well as you're talking to them. But yes, I feel inspired after Kelly spoke.
I'll do a quick introduction of myself, and Rayshawn, forgive me. I know we are probably going to have to commend this group. So I'll just start with, my name is Latora Jackson. I am a financial project manager with AtriCure. And as Kelly mentioned, we are one of the few med device companies in this area. My background is in accounting and forecasting and planning, FP&A. Originally from Indianapolis, Indiana, and actually moved to Cincinnati my senior year in high school. So for all you seniors or about to be seniors, you can know how painful that is. And I actually graduated from Finneytown, which was a major culture shock for me, at least coming from where I was coming from. But I did go to college. Again, my undergrad was in accounting and my master's is in finance, and then I have a postgrad in project management. But I went to college out of survival, just for a better state of life from what I was coming from. But fortunately, I was able to go on a full ride scholarship. So I just wanted to commend this group for the initiatives that you are taking when you all were talking about some of your demands and what you were interested in, and how everyone was really talking about life skills, finance, planning, stocks, just your entire assets that you will be responsible for as an adult coming afterwards is highly important. And that I regret that I learned that later in life. So the fact that you are already ahead of the game is just very exciting and enlightening. Like if my camera was on, you would have saw me snapping and giving y'all a round of applause, because it was just very refreshing to hear a younger audience already ahead of the game. I'll stop there for now, and I'll let Rashawn introduce herself, because I could go even longer. So I'll let Rashawn hop on.
Hello, I'm Rashawn Storrs. I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Business Partner at AtriCure. I've been here just over 2.5 years, and I've been in the Cincinnati area for about 4.5 years. I'm originally from East Cleveland, Ohio. It's a smaller city that borders Cleveland, which has like zero diversity. From the elementary through high school, the only diversity is our teachers. It's all Black students, which isn't a bad thing, but the exposure, I think having that limited exposure and interactions with others can limit you in some way. After high school, I went to Ohio State and graduated, and that experience was kind of eye-opening just because Ohio State was the largest university at that time, and there were over 60,000 students, I believe. My freshman roommate was someone from Korea. So coming from an area where only other Black people I interacted with to not exchange student, but to a student that was from another country was extremely eye-opening and different for me. But that also, I think, kind of sparked my passion in wanting to work in the human resources field. So after graduating, I came back home to Cleveland. I worked in kind of temporary jobs in retail until I figured out what I wanted to do. And that happened because I worked at a company as a temp in their recruiting department. So that sparked my real passion for human resources. And then from there, I went back to school, got my MBA with a concentration in HR, and then eventually found a position in human resources. So I think as Latora and Kelly said, what you all are doing is incredible. I didn't have that mindset growing up where you all are today. So having that exposure to people in your life that can give you that advice and point you in the direction of others who can give you experience is invaluable. Like Hurlin said, that the main outside is school where he get his feedback from. I would say tap into Simone's network. It seems like she has a huge network of people that could provide you with experience in the legal field. And if her family doesn't have it, I'm sure they know others that could give you that advice. So I'm happy to be here and look forward to continuing this conversation.
Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves, and I feel the energy and excitement, and these young people are very inspiring as they talk about the issues that we've talked about over the past few months, as well as what we're talking about today in terms of careers. So I have a couple questions, but I want to make sure, in the interest of time, students, if you have questions for the city leaders, I want to give you an opportunity to ask those questions now. So is there anything that you want to ask the individuals that are on our call today? No? All right, well, I'll let you think. I'll throw out the first question and I'll let you think. I'm going to circle back though, because I know you guys are opinionated and have lots of things to say. So one of the things that is interesting to me, and obviously the young people today were talking about this in terms of, hey, I'm interested in, going into the legal field, going into the medical field. But as the three of you all were talking, you all talked about your interest changing, or your career maybe taking a shift, or realizing that you're interested in something else. So I'm curious, what advice do you give young people as they're thinking about exploring, even if they have in their mind where they would like to be, in 4 years? How do you encourage young people to kind of keep an open mind and discover what they're good at and what they like and they dislike when it comes to career?
That's a really great question. I had originally went to school for pre-law and legal and found that I did not want to have to deal with a lot of the reading and writing. I knew I was good at arguing and getting my point across and being 99% of the time right, or even having you thinking I was right, even if I was wrong. So that was my initial thought as it relates to where I needed to be in a career. But definitely expose yourself to multiple facets of ways that you can apply those skills. Like right now, I am not in law, but I do problem solve. I do persuade our leadership into implementing different systems or changing policies within our company. I'm still able to apply that skill set that I originally thought would make me a great lawyer in project planning and in the finance team. So definitely go out there and see how you can shadow someone within that career, or if attend different camps. Kiorlin, you had mentioned the law camp. Share that with some of your friends and see how you can get a group of individuals to participate with you in that. But you'll want to get as much exposure to these finite careers and see how they are also branching out into other aspects or levels within those careers, like with nursing, or even with the medical industry is not always just bedside nursing. We have research nursing that we actually hire that are in clinical trials and study and travel across the world. So those are things to think of when you are set in a specific career. Just also see how those skills that made you interested in that career can be applied elsewhere. Never did I ever think that I would be working for a med device company, but I thoroughly enjoy what I do and seeing the output of my efforts within the company's changes.
Yeah, thank you for that thoughtful answer. And it's a good point, too, that even within the career fields that you all are talking about, there's multiple opportunities. There's so many other ways you can, you don't just have to be working at a hospital and be a nurse, right? So how do you continue to expose yourself to those other things? I saw someone unmute themselves, so I want to make sure. Was that you or Sean?
Yes, yes. So I was going to echo what Latoya said. I think exposure is key. Like in high school and prior, I just knew I wanted to be a businessman. Like I would watch the stories from my grandmother, and they wore suits and had a briefcase every day, and that's what I wanted to do. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be as it related to business, just in that field. So as I grew and went to college, I still didn't have a good idea until probably really after college that I wanted to be in human resources. I still just pursued a business degree, and hopefully I was hoping that I would find a place where I was happy and wanted to land. But that did take some years. But if I had that exposure earlier on, I think I would have kind of fast forwarded my knowing that I wanted to be in human resources. So getting that exposure, talking to relatives, talking to friends about what they do, to their parents, taking that opportunity to ask if you can go to work with them one day, just to get a day in the life of a legal professional, a nurse, a doctor, whatever. I think that's key in figuring out what you like and what you dislike, because you may like one of those fields, but not, like Latoya said, a bedside nurse. You might want to be a nurse doing other things that travels. There's traveling nurses and different things like that. So just be open and try to be exposed to as much as possible.
I'll just hop on and say real quick that you can also do volunteering time with different companies, or if you're interested in a rotation in finance, or a rotation in any career, where you can reach out to different companies, especially some of the larger ones or even smaller ones, where you can just have a day to rotate and speak with people that are in those different arenas and kind of see how those branch off into other avenues or career paths. A lot of companies are open to doing that and are looking for younger talent and bringing in new ideas. So the opportunities are definitely out there. Continue to take that initiative to own your own journey and not let it be chosen for you.
So I have one last question for the group, unless a student has a question. Oh, Simone, go ahead. Oh, and Kira.
You can go. You can go.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fine. You
Okay.
can go.
This question is for Ms. Jackson. So you said that you were originally thinking and going into pre-law. So I just want to know, what did you experience within the college? I just want to know more information about that.
So I actually originally attended Northern Kentucky University and later transferred to University of Cincinnati. And I had a great counselor who later became one of my sorority sisters. So as you talk about your counselors, definitely utilize them. If your counselor is not living up to your standards and expectations, request a new one, because they are the resource that is supposed to be guiding you. So take charge of your own path, as I mentioned before. But the workload that I was expecting to be going up to the judge and convincing people that this person is not guilty was not really what the underlining textbook requirements were. So that was a personal decision for myself. Again, it was not the interest that I was, or the expectation that I had at the time as a freshman, excited to be in college, just got off the summer vacation. And after one semester of the commitment that it would take to even be in pre-law, I was not up for that challenge and wanted to seek to utilize my skills elsewhere. But that is kind of where I also come into play to say I was not exposed to anything related to law. Again, it was just me knowing that I can argue and convince my peers to be what I needed it to be. But again, my skills were more productive in the avenue of the transition that I need to be in a different career path. But you can definitely do college tours and speak with any dean of pre-law colleges to kind of understand what their curriculums are. You are also able to sit in college courses to see what some of those intro classes are like. So while you're out here looking at colleges or looking at applications, do those college tours. A lot of them are pretty open with sitting in on some of these courses, talking to some of the professors and the deans of those students. So definitely take advantage of that as well.
Good question, Kierlin. Simone, you've got the last question.
This is kind of unrelated, but this is for Ms. Jackson. What sorority are you in?
Well, I'm going to throw Miss Kelly in here as well. We are both ladies of Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated. And I'm going to throw Rashawn in there as well. He is an alpha man.
Mom's a Delta, that's why I asked. And I plan on becoming one too.
Nice.
Awesome. Thanks, Simone. And that's a part of the network component as well, right? So that's awesome. That's something that you were thinking about. So I want to thank everyone for joining. The one thing that I will say to the students is, if you have follow-up questions for these awesome individuals that chose to join today, feel free to get connected through the right people. You all in particular, because of this group, have such a unique opportunity to continue to be connected to leaders throughout the city. So make sure that you're taking advantage of that. We talked about a lot of things today in terms of career preparedness, from making sure that your schools have courses that are available and help you think through what you want to do in the future, to making sure that you're advocating for yourself and getting the connections that you need from your counselors to really think through how you can excel in the career that you're interested in. So I think we have a lot of ideas coming out of today and things that you could be advocating for in the future, not just for yourself, but for your peers and your classmates as well, right? Because this is what it's all about. I do want to take a moment before we close. I'll hand it off to Rachel in a moment, but with our leaders, the one thing that I did want you to comment on just quickly, if you have one line, is this group, obviously today we talked a lot about careers, but this group was forged in June to really talk about racial equity as well, and how the school can make sure that they're effectively supporting students of color, especially when it comes to things like giving them equitable access to life skills and the career preparedness that they need, as well as other things that we've talked about before. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, as these young people are thinking about college and career next, what is some advice that you would give them once they step into that next out of high school and into college or into career when it comes to advocating for themselves as a person of color in the workforce? Kelly, I think you're on mute.
At the top.
There we go. Okay. I had to move things around for it to show up. Rashawn is always looking out for me, y'all. So, and Latora. So I would say, first of all, stay the course, because it does get, I ended up getting my master's degree later in life as well as a certification in diversity. However, when you start your family and start living your life and you're working, you got responsibilities, it gets to be pretty tough. So do your very best to be dedicated and focused. when you get out of high school. So if you need a break or something happens in your family, our lives have seasons. That's okay. But if when you're in your career, there is a lot of vulnerability as African Americans. So it's important to know your craft and know it well. Do your research, and I always use the phrase "be in the know." So when you're having that critical conversation with folks in your organization or your supervisor, that you know the numbers, you know the data, you know what's happening in your community, you can make the comparison between your life and your career and the company and what's going on within the community and within our country. So make sure you read and have an understanding of what's happening in your industry. So, for example, and I want to make sure that, Rachel, that you get my information, because when working for hospitals, I was responsible for working with HR, human resources, in order to recruit African American nurses. It's not enough of them. It's not enough African Americans going to nursing school. So, but in order to do that, I had to help those folks that were doing the recruiting, which many times don't look like us, to first understand the importance, because the research shows that we do better. We have better outcomes. We get out of the hospital sooner when we have someone taking care of us that looks like us, because we can interact and identify. So I'm saying all of this to say that, be in the know, do your research, study, and that will help you and stay focused. And be willing to I moved around a lot, and I had to make a lot of sacrifices in order to grow in my career, and you have to be willing to do that as well.
I would add also, like Latour said many times today, is you're in control of your future. So you can have goals, set your goals out, and they can change. There's nothing wrong with, after a year, after 2 years, realizing this goal needs to change because I'm more interested in this. And just have that drive and ambition to want to be your best self, whatever that means. If you're at a company or at a job, or in a field where you don't feel you're being your best self and you want to make those changes, it's okay to do that. So just take whatever action you need to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, I'll echo with what everyone else said, but I will also include, as you go on your journey, remember to also bring someone with you. Representation is everything. So as you are moving along on your journey and you are moving higher up in your career, remember to bring the rest of us up with you. So as you are moving on, if you go to school or not, find that mentorship, find that sponsor, someone that will be bringing you along. And remember, as you continue to grow, to bring someone else up with you.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing that. I think it's so important to reflect on and think about. Students, leaders, thank you for joining today's conversation. I think that's almost a perfect way to end, in terms of for our students to think about, what student, what peer, what classmate do you want to bring along with you as we continue these conversations with Speak Up and Speak Out. So I'll ask everyone to just stop sharing their screen, and Rachel, you'll have the final word today.
I would like to thank Mr. Rashawn, Ms. Kelly, and Ms. Latora for being here today and for helping us all out with our career choices and teaching us what we should and should not do. Please join us again on our next live broadcast.